Seino is your average high school student. He's bored at school, he looks average, and he's not really that interesting of a person. The most interesting thing about him is that he is obsessed with going on adventures. You see, his parents were adventurers as well, and they would go to this amazing and crazy location, exploring and doing a lot of cool stuff. Seino wants to be just like his parents. The only problem is he's a high school student, so he's a bit limited. We met Seino one morning while he is talking to his friends Suzumoto. All the students have now come back from break and are talking about their experiences during the holiday. While Suzumoto was doing regular high school stuff like hanging out with his girlfriend, Seino was going on adventures. While he was trying to go on adventures but failing, he tried to crash a graveyard, but it did not work. Suzumoto makes fun of Seino for not having any interest in girls and just being focused on silly adventures. Seino then reveals that he is very much a horn dog. He just does not care about relationships. Seino just wants to have lots of sex with girls, but that's it. Suzumoto then once again teases him, and they start to talk about all the cutest girls in class. First up is Natsuno. She is friendly and popular all around, but she is not really the Seino's type. For Seino, she is too petite and small. Her friend Akitsu, on the other hand, is much better. Akitsu and Natsuno are childhood friends, but Seino likes Akitsu much more. She seems more experienced. Fuyashima is the tall one. She is quiet and badass. People in class call her the Snow Princess since she is so cold and does not speak to many. Suzumoto comments that while she is beautiful, her chest is just not that big. The writer of this manga was like, how about a chapter where we just talk about girls and rate them? The next up is the person that most interests Seino, Harumechi-sensei. She is the homeroom teacher, and while she wears baggy clothes, Seino knows she is hot as hell. Soon after class begins, and it's another boring day at school. When Seino walks back home, he just keeps thinking about high parents and them constantly leaving him to go on adventures. For that reason, he has been training for years and also wants to be like them. When he returns home, something strange starts to happen. Seino feels lightheaded, and suddenly he is inside of his home basement. This time the basement seems to be changed. It's giant and it looks like a dungeon. Seino is totally confused, but soon he spots a notebook on the ground and starts to read it. This notebook talks about this being a giant, endless dungeon with levels and fantastical monsters. There is also great treasures in the dungeon, but it's very dangerous. Monsters grow stronger the more they fight, and there is a lot of them down this dungeon. For Seino, this seems like a dream come true, but things even get better. While the monsters level when they fight, humans who enter the dungeon level up by having lewd sex. The author was like, okay, but what if we combined Lord of the Rings with hentai? Seino also learns that he is only level 1, so this might be difficult for him. Still, he continues exploring. Soon enough, he finds a treasure chest and opens it. There is a single magical candle inside of it that he can use to level up. Seino is then attacked by a tree monster, and he is barely able to survive the fight. Seino goes back to school the following day and decides to level up. To do that, he has to seduce a girl and sleep with her. He can use the magical candle since it seems to have a special effect on people. Seino decides that he is going to sleep with his sensei, Harumechi. He tells his teacher some B story about his parent not paying the bills and how she has to help him. Harumechi-sensei follows Seino into his home and they sit down. Seino lights up a candle as they wait for his parents, who are of course not coming. At first it seems like the candle has no effect, but suddenly Seino starts to feel strange. He is now super horny. Also, the candle has the same effect on Harumechi. She cannot control herself and she jumps on Seino. In just mere seconds, they are totally naked and doing the business. Harumechi just cannot get enough and Seino is loving every minute. They do it not once but twice. After that, they agree to keep it a secret and Harumechi leaves. Still, before she leaves, it's obvious she loved every minute of their lewd and spicy meeting. Seino once again enters the dungeon, and this time he is level 5. Hey, that's pretty good results for just smashing your teacher twice. Seino is now exploring the never-ending dungeon. He realizes that this must be some sort of different dimension that is separate from Earth. He is now level 5, so he can deal with a lot more enemies. He has some good gear on him and even has a sword he can use in battle. After exploring for a little while, he runs into a rat. This rat is level 1, and right away Seino knows this is a monster. The rat tries to attack Seino, but it's defeated with no problems. Seino then continues to explore the tunnels and soon reaches a room with a treasure chest in it. This treasure chest seems to be defended by a monster rose flower. This flower is level 5, so it's not going to be that easy. Seino tries to attack it head-on, but it does not work. He even gets injured a bit. He then throws his coat over the flower and starts to stab it with his sword. Finally, the flower monster is defeated and the chest can be opened. When Seino opens the chest inside, he finds an umbrella that has romantic energy on it. Basically, whoever stands under the umbrella will fall in love with the person holding it. Seino can use this for his next lewd encounter. While Seino would like to keep exploring the dungeon, he notices that he is a bit injured. He also spots that tree monster that almost defeated him yesterday. Now he can see that the tree monster is level 5. Seino thinks it's not a good idea to fight it right away. He has to level up, and you know what that means. Sexy time. Seino goes to school, and his friend Suzumoto notices that Seino is in a really good mood. Of course, Seino cannot tell him that he banged the teacher yesterday, so he just stays silent. Soon the boys run into Natsuno and Akitsu. The girls are nice, and it seems that Natsuno already has a crush on Seino. Seino decides that he's going to try and use his magic horny umbrella on Natsuno later that day. When he arrives in the classroom, Harumachi-sensei is there. She seems to blush every time she looks over Seino. It seems that sensei cannot stop thinking about their moments together. Natsuno is looking very cute today, so Seino is confident in his decision. After class it rains, and Seino offers his umbrella to Natsuno. Akitsu is also there, but she wants Natsuno to flirt with Seino a bit. Natsuno and Seino start walking together, and right away the umbrella starts working. Natsuno is blushing all the time, smiling and flirting with Seino. After some time, Akitsu decides to get under the umbrella, and it also has an effect on her. She even asks Seino if he is just that special or if his umbrella is magical. Of course, she has no idea that it really is magic, but it seems that Seino will bag 2 girls in one day. Akitsu is very curious about his umbrella and how he's getting her so excited. Seino plays dumb and pretends like he has no idea what is happening. Akitsu then goes insane and offers him to touch her body if he reveals his secrets. Moments later, Akitsu snaps out of it and is confused why she just said it. Still, she is flirting with Seino really hard, like girls is not holding back at all. She has already forgotten about Natsuno and her crush on Seino. She wants him all for herself. After they walk for a little while longer, they reach the houses where Akitsu and Natsuno live. Akitsu really wants to hold the umbrella, but Natsuno prevents it. Akitsu leaves, but before she goes, she winks at Seino. Seino is now certain that the umbrella worked, and those 2 girls are now crazy about him. He returns to his dungeon to explore. In the dungeon, GPS devices or modern computers do not work, so Seino has to create a map by hand. He has been exploring the dungeon for days now, and he thinks he has mapped out almost all parts of the first level of the dungeon. After exploring some more, he runs into a level 4 monster. This monster does not notice Seino, so he stabs it from behind. With one stab of his sword, he is able to take down the monster with no problem. Soon after he takes down another monster, again he is able to defeat it without getting injured. After exploring a bit more, he reaches a final room in this dungeon level. This room has another treasure chest and a monster guarding it. The monster leaps on Seino, but he stabs it and destroys it with no problems. When Seino opens the treasure chest, there is a strange potion inside of it. This potion is called an extract, and when Seino reads, he is shocked. Basically, whoever drinks this potion will have a sudden need to drink fluids, those special kind of fluids. Let me give you a hint. It's not water, soda, or even juice. Yeah, I think you get it. Seino goes back to school and decides to give this potion to one of the girls. So basically now he is driving these girls, so not only is he an adventurer, he is also a criminal. Seino decides that Akitsu is just too horny for him, and so is Natsuno, so he picks Urashima. After class, Seino asks Urashima if she can help him with some math. They are left alone, and after she finishes teaching him, he offers her a drink, the love potion. Urashima drinks it, and right away it kicks in. She is still cold and distant, but she asks Seino to drink his love fluids, let's call them that. Seino is super happy to just take off his pants and instruct her on how to extract the fluids. Urashima starts to, let's say, using her hands to help out. After some lewd rubbing, the fluids rain all over the place. Urashima is still thirsty, but our boy Seino needs to recharge. He tells her to get naked and use her mouth this time. Urashima listens and does exactly that. Seino gets done faster than instant ramen and blows another shot. Urashima then thanks him and just leaves like it was a business transaction. When Seino returns home, he finds out that he is level 7 now. Right before he enters the dungeon, he hears his doorbell ring. When he opens the door, it's Harumachi-sensei. Oh boy, here we go again. Harumachi-sensei is already blushing and she begs Seino to invite her in. Seino does so and she explains that they need to talk. Seino and Harumachi-sensei sit down in his room and she apologizes. Harumachi-sensei feels responsible for what happened to them a few days ago. She feels guilty and she offers Seino whatever he wants. She will quit being a teacher. She will pay him money. Whatever he needs to feel better. Seino, of course, does not want her life turning into hell, so he tells her it's totally okay. He loved their experience and she did nothing wrong. Harumachi blushes once more and thanks him. She then leaves as Seino is left alone in his room. A part of him feels kind of sad that they cannot do it again. Suddenly, he realizes that he did not hear the door of his house close. Seino rushes over and finds Harumachi-sensei standing in front of the dungeon doors. She is confused and asks him what this is. Oh boy, our dude is in big trouble. How can you explain a never-ending dungeon with monsters under your house? Seino tries to calm her down and explain it, but Harumachi-sensei just walks inside of the dungeon. It's like she's being mind-controlled. Seino runs after her and soon they reach level 2 of the dungeon after walking some stairs. Seino is now pretty worried. He has to protect himself and also Harumachi-sensei. Suddenly, they run into a pumpkin monster, a giant creature that is just smiling at them, like they are its next meal. Seino also notices a treasure chest near the monster. With no other choice, Seino jumps in with his sword to fight the monster. He gets injured and the monster actually captures him. In that moment, Harumachi uses a torch to distract the monster. This gives Seino a chance to finish off the monster. He then opens the treasure chest and inside is a special item that puts the person nearest to the user under a spell for 15 minutes. Of course, this item affects Harumachi-sensei. Seino cannot control himself and just jumps all over her, takes off her clothes and just goes crazy. Harumachi is also into the lewd stuff as well. While they are going crazy like rabbits, Seino wishes that they do this every day. After Harumachi-sensei comes back to normal, they leave the dungeon and talk. She is worried about him going down there where all the monsters are and wants him to be careful. The following day, Seino is back at school and thinking about what happened with Harumachi-sensei. Suddenly, Sensei enters the classroom, but now she looks totally different, and by different, she is beyond hot now. Harumachi-sensei is now wearing a short dress and a fancy shirt, and all the students are losing their minds. It seems that Sensei wanted to change some things to impress Seino. After class, Seino comes to talk with her, but she only wants them to write messages to each other. Seino wants to go back to the dungeon and he wants her permission. Harumachi-sensei allows him, but she decides to join him every time he goes down there to protect him. All that's kind of sweet. Seino accepts this as he cannot change the fact that she knows his secret. After talking to his sensei, he is confronted by Akitsu. Akitsu makes fun of him and asks him if he is seducing the teacher. Seino of course denies everything, and that is when Akitsu threatens him. If he breaks Natsuno's heart, there will be problems. Seino is now worried about Akitsu. She seems to be investigating him a lot, so he has to be careful. He decides to try to get some information out of Natsuno. He invites Natsuno to come hang out at his house. Oh boy, here we go again. Natsuno is shy and blushes the entire time. It's very obvious she likes Seino no matter what. They have some tea and talk. Seino wants to know about her friendship with Akitsu and how they are so close. Seino has also decided to raise his levels with Natsuno. He will use the magic bell on her. This bell will make her submit for 15 minutes and then she will forget all about it. He used it on his sensei, and he can use it once more. After talking a bit, Seino realizes he will not find out any info from Natsuno, but he can trust her since she seems nice and kind. Seino, being the humor perv he is, activates the bell and Natsuno becomes his personal toy for 15 minutes. He decides to not sleep with her, but instead, she could just use her mouth and help him out. Natsuno takes off her clothes and she gets to work. Turns out the bell spell seems to be working too well. Natsuno is sucking the soul out of this man. Seino starts to panic since she's going crazy. He cannot control himself and pretty quickly he busts. Natsuno then returns to normal and totally forgets about what just happened. Well, Seino will never forget the fact that Natsuno is a real throat godam. Before she leaves, Natsuno starts to feel the call from the dungeon, but Seino hugs her to prevent her from going down there. After she leaves, Seino starts to get more curious about the dungeon's effects on people. It also turns out that Akitsu is right outside and spying on Natsuno to find out what happened between her and Seino. Moments after Natsuno leaves, Harumachi-sensei arrives and she is ready to go on an adventure. Our dude Seino just has a revolving door of girls coming and going out of his house. Harumachi then tells Seino that she spotted Akitsu outside of his house and it was pretty suspicious. Now Seino realizes that Akitsu is spying on him and she will be a problem in the future for sure. Still, it's time to go dungeon exploring with Harumachi-sensei and she came prepared. She brought a whole bag of weapons. Her family owns a dojo and she has been training her entire life in various types of martial arts. She brought with her Bojutsu wooden weapons and is ready to throw them down. Seino kind of feels happy he can share this adventure with someone else, and also it's his hot teacher he is sharing it with. Both of them enter the dungeon and he asks to find out what Harumachi's level is. Her level is 6, while Seino has level 9. This means they can deal with pretty strong monsters, and especially if they work together. While exploring the dungeon, Seino starts to kind of flirt with Harumachi-sensei. He praises her for wearing a skirt and wants her to dress like that every day. Harumachi starts to blush, but she likes his compliments. Suddenly, they are attacked by a lighting monster that looks like a sheep. This monster is level 6, so Harumachi-sensei decides to fight it. Using her special weapons, she charges at the monster and nukes it in seconds. She then smiles at Seino and promises to wear a dress every day for him. Okay, we have a best girl contender right here with Harumachi-sensei. They explore the dungeon some more and run into a small tree monster. They tag team that monster with no problems. They are actually a pretty solid team. Seino opens a new treasure chest with a magical handband. If a person puts on this handband, they can grope and touch another person without them complaining. Seino uses this and right away goes to grab Harumachi's boobs. He just keeps holding her boobs while she blushes and loses her mind. Soon they run into another beast, this time it's level 9. Harumeki-sensei jumps in to take down the monster but gets injured badly. Seino then uses a special crossbow he found in the dungeon and takes down the monster. After clearing that area out, Harumeki-sensei and Seino agree to meet tomorrow and once again go exploring the dungeon together. Soon after, Seino gets a text message from Akitsu. The text message tells him that they need to meet, and it's a photo of him getting a blowjob in a class by Fuyoshima. Seino realizes that Akitsu will be a serious problem and she cannot find out about the dungeon or his powers. Seino is pretty nervous, but he goes to meet with Akitsu in her house. She welcomes him and is acting all sweet and innocent. Seino goes into her room and she prepares some drinks and snacks for them. Seino wants to get right to business and demands that she delete those photos. Akitsu acts dumb and she does not want to listen to him until he answers some of her questions. She really wants to know what happened between Seino and Natsuno. Akitsu is really great friends with Natsuno and does not want anyone hurting her. Seino tells her they just hug and nothing else. Still, Akitsu does not want to delete the photos. She then gets up to bring him more snacks. In that moment, Seino puts some of the love potions inside of her drink, which will make her want his fluids. When Akitsu returns, she is not drinking anything and she keeps questioning Seino over and over again. Seino realizes that this girl is dangerous and she's going to expose him. Seino then puts on his handband and starts to grab her boobs. This special handband allows the user to touch a person and get them excited, but the person does not notice that they are being touched. Akitsu starts to drink water since she's getting all horny and worked up. Seino then puts his hands down her pants to fully excite her. Finally, the love potion works and she demands to drink his semen. Girl, good and calm down. Seino then plays hard to get, and unless she deletes all traces off that photo from her phone and computer, he ain't giving out his fluids. Finally, Akitsu deletes everything and she's begging for it at this point. Seino takes off his pants and her mouth goes to work. Girl is eating it like she's been starving for years. Soon enough, Seino loses control and gives her his fluids. Akitsu snaps out of the trance at this point and she wants to know what kind of superpowers Seino has. Seino just wants to get out of there as fast as possible. He promises to not hurt Natsuno, but he just has to leave since Akitsu is acting crazy. When he leaves, we see that Akitsu planted another video camera in the room, and now she has evidence that Seino put something in her drink. Busted. Seino and Harumeki-sensei decide to continue their journey into the dungeons. She arrives in a fancy dress to just impress Seino cause he said he likes it. He then gives her some new gear so that she can go fight monsters. Seino thinks about seducing Harumeki-sensei and just leveling up with her without using any devices. When they enter the dungeon, he is level 10 and she is still at 6. When she asks him how he leveled up, he tells her it's because he is fighting more monsters. Seino cannot lie forever, but what the hell? Might as well try to keep it going as long as possible. Harumeki-sensei and Seino continue exploring the level 3 of the dungeon. Even if Sensei is only level 6, she promises to protect Seino no matter what. Soon they reach a new boss area. There are 2 dolls on the ground, both are level 9. Seino realizes that a giant crystal is controlling them. Harumeki-sensei attacks the dolls while Seino fires his crossbow from a distance to take down the crystal. Finally, they are able to damage the crystal, but Seino is really injured. Harumeki is worried about him, but he explains that when he leaves the dungeon, all his injuries heal and restart. Finally, they take down the monster and clear this level. Since Harumeki is too worried about Seino, they leave the dungeon so that he can heal. They agreed to meet up later. Seino thinks about leveling up with his teacher, but decides not to. He then thinks about his options. The 2 neighbor girls are too crazy, so he remembers Fuyoshima, the one who gave him that blowjob in class. Bro goes to her house with the magic bed tickets. He tells her that he is there to hang out and gives the ticket to Fuyoshima. Fuyoshima invites him into her giant house and he meets her grandmother. It seems that she lives alone in this giant place with her grandma. The old lady is super nice and she makes them a meal. Seino chills in the hot springs and heals up. After dinner, we see him and Fuyoshima talking about their lives and bonding, but nobody is here to see them talk. It's time to get to the loot stuff. Since the magic card is activated, Fuyoshima invites him to bed. Still, she is pretty distant, so nothing is happening. Seino then pulls out his handband and starts to touch Fuyoshima all over her body. She cannot notice this, but she gets more and more horny as time goes on. Finally, Fuyoshima asks Seino if he is her fated lover. Her grandmother told her that she would find a fated lover and give her body to him. At this point, Seino will literally say anything. He will be her fated lover, he will be Batman, whatever it takes. Fuyoshima is trembling, her entire body is beyond excited. Seino, of course, tells her that he is her fated lover, and they can now be together. This is enough for Fuyoshima, and they start to kiss. Seino wants to throw in some tongue in their kisses, and things turn steamy pretty fast. Soon enough, they are taking each other's clothes off, and I really hope Nana is sleeping and not listening to what's about to go down. Seino and Fuyoshima start to have intense and passionate sex. They are not holding back anymore, and it's insane. A lot of screaming from both sides, and at this point, Grandma is awake. There is no